All right, so we should be live. I'm here with Sifu Niko, the man. And we've been wanting to do this talk for a very long time because, again, Sifu Niko is awesome, man. Out of a lot of the Tai Chi people I've met, Sifu Niko seems to be one of the few in America who really seems to actually want to not just understand, but also improve on Tai Chi. Tai Chi's an old art, so to understand Tai Chi is already a big undertaking, but Sifu Niko also seems to really want to improve on it. For example, trying some of that push hands, fixed step stuff where I don't know about you, but when I went there, I didn't know they were gonna have foot pads. They were like this high. So we'll devote a
Yeah,
segment to
yeah,
that.
yeah, for
But while we wait for people to come in, what's up, Brandon? While we wait for people to come in, let's talk about your recent stint on reality television as a Tai Chi teacher. Please tell us about that.
yeah. So I had a really cool life experience where I got a chance to be on the TV show Survivor, season 45, which was one of the coolest experiences of my life, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first off, before we dive into that, getting a chance to go to Fiji again was phenomenal. It was once in a lifetime thing. I'd never been out of the country, so that was cool. But yeah, Survivor is an ultimate testament of your will. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
starving. You have to play these games mentally, socially, physically. You have challenges. I loved every aspect of it. I got a chance to really delve in. I don't know who's on right now, but if you haven't checked it out, check it out. But I made it very far, and I had a great time. So, we can dive into this because I want to talk about episode one.
Yeah.
Where you get on this boat and you see these 17 other people that you don't freaking know.
Yeah.
Nerves are high. You're about to do a challenge. I had prepared for this, this moment, doing Tai Chi, doing martial arts. And not just that, I also am very physical. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
lifting weights.
definitely. And we saw that on the show immediately. Just your Tai Chi training, you were very light on the ship. So yeah, I won't get ahead of ourselves. Let's you keep telling
Yeah,
the story.
exactly. And in the first challenge, you're throwing these. I want to say they were anywhere from 30 to 70 pound bags into these crates, and I'm just like, whoa, this is super surreal. There's hundreds of cameras, and then you forget about the cameras because you're just so focused on, oh my god, I gotta win this or I gotta do this. So I would say that Survivor was an amazing time, and dude, the best thing that could ever happen to me, just from many standpoints. So
Hmm. And the follow-up immediate question for me is: you chose your wardrobe very deliberately, right? That was really cool, especially on ship. I'm like, dude, he came full. He was Tai Chi master, everything. That was really cool. I mean,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
call yourself a master, but you were Tai Chi teacher, man.
Right. And so I want to represent myself well. So I wore my official garb, my gi, my top, my pants. I think that what it means to me is something a little deeper than the average eye can see, right? When I wear that, when I look down at that piece of clothing, I see honor, integrity, hard work, and dedication because I've been doing, well, we'll get to this, but I've been doing martial arts since I was 6, yada, yada. But when I look at that, I'm like, dang, I am representing myself, my culture, my background, my work. This is what I need to do, and I want to wear this to represent that. So it was more than just oh, he looks cool or whatever you want to say about it. It was like,
Yeah.
no, this is like a reminder, a daily reminder for me.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you watching, whether now or later, you can find it on Amazon Prime, I believe, if you have the Paramount Plus, I believe,
Yeah.
or CBS. So you can watch it on CBS. So yeah, those are two places you could watch. And yeah, so let's talk about. So I'll just very briefly kind of summarize the first episode. So after the first challenge, Nico's team does the best, of course, and so they split them up into three groups. And you seem pretty happy with the group you got, right?
Yeah. We had a bunch of big guys in there and,
Yeah,
and good people. So
yeah.
we were called Reba.
Reba, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I want everyone to watch it, of course, so we won't spoil too much. But was there any one or two moments during the show that you just like you took that story and you tell it for life kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say Man, there's so many. Without spoiling, I would say that the take from these episodes, and I would say it was the fact that I was faced with so many different elements, physically and mentally and spiritually, that I had to really every single day dig into my mental, my physical,
Oh,
because there was no, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have any of this thing, so I just had to live inside this thing every
yeah,
single day.
yeah.
So it was a good reflection of like mentally processing and categorizing things in my head and like having to really truly be myself, like honestly and authentically be myself. But some major moments for me, Jerry, were just overcoming hard challenges that I would build up small anxiety, and I'd be like, dude, can I really do this on an empty tank?
Yeah.
Can I really push myself? But I had that inner chi and that inner feeling of heart that would burn within more than any food or fuel could help me with, and I would allow that to flow through me. Again, coming from my Tai Chi and martial arts background, I dig into that stuff heavily. You know.
And a question I think a lot of us have is that the camera crew, right? They sort of just do they like stay at a distance from you guys? I think that's something that's always fascinating. I don't know if you're allowed to like explain the
Yeah,
behind the scenes. Like, how do the camera crews kind of stay out of your way but still capture you?
yeah. So the camera crew is phenomenal. I mean, they've been doing this for 25 years, probably 24 years, and they don't get in your way. I mean,
Wow.
they are so good at that. Some are using a long lens, where they can see from far. Some are close up and follow. Literally, if you run, they're running. If you walk,
Wow.
they're walking. If you're in the water, they're in the water. Like that's how really developed they become with their cameras. Whether they need to go in water, whether they need to go on land, whether they have a drone flying over you. And you would think that all of that is a distraction. It is not, because
Mm,
you're so focused on just surviving.
yeah.
So it's kind of wild, man.
So, are they gonna like invite you back for another season, or tell me about that? Because the reason I asked because there was
Yeah,
a guy from the previous seasons who like was in this
Bruce.
season. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was cool to see a guy returning to the season, because in the new era of Survivor, which is after season 40, so 41 till 45, there had not been a return, and he was the first to kind of create that. So he's like a staple. So I think yes, there will be a returning season. When it comes to Survivor, you have no clue if you'll be back on. So my hopes is yes, I'll be back on. I'm gonna work for that to be back on the show. But let's just say that it hopefully is in my future. You know what I mean, Jerry?
Yeah, yeah. And Nico and I were talking about the Ultimate Self Defense Championship right before we started live streaming. Imagine a Survivor version of it. They put Nico and Sensei Seth and Icy Mike and Karate Nerd Jesse, put them all in an island. That would be really cool because after all, right? Martial arts, the skills should transfer to other parts of life. And that's what Nico showed with his Tai Chi on Survivor. So, like, I think that would be a really good test to see which one of these YouTube martial artists has the most skill. Not just in fighting, but there's a lot more to martial arts. So, Ken Sensei Seth uses, different skills to cut down trees and make a fire. I think that's really valuable.
No, I think you're right, because and I actually like what you just said there, because like yes, martial arts is about the form and the fighting aspect and the internal integrity and all that, but deeper than that is like, how can you actually apply this to life and to struggles and to circumstantial things, like not having food, that's taken away from you, not having easy access to water or your phone or your email. Like, can you apply what you've learned over many years to those extreme situations? And again, one of the number one reasons why I decided to go on this show is, am I really made of it? Like, can I do this? Am I going to croak out day 2? Like, what's going to happen to me? And so in this season, I really pushed myself. I really had a chance to dive in deep. And this season, there were 2 people that quit. And that's just a testament to how hard this game is.
Yeah.
And the viewers don't really get to see the struggles as much as we get to live it. So
Yeah. Exactly. Wow. Yeah, so I think this is the perfect time since we already talked about Survivor. Let's delve into your martial arts training. So, for those of you watching, we met Sifu Niko for the first time when he did that push hands tournament. But of course, to build up to that, he was doing a lot of Tai Chi for a very long time. He grew up doing Tai Chi. His dad was one of his teachers. So yeah, Sifu Niko, let's just talk about your journey.
Yeah, so I've been doing martial arts since I was 6 years old, and a lot of people look at me like, well, "There's no way." Well, I'm like, "Well, my dad taught me," so it was like really right there. It wasn't like I had to go to the park and train with it. It was like my father. So every time you turn the corner, he's his, and you had a chance to do that. But I really digested this art, Jerry, like as if I was drinking water, every single day because it was my life. It was my livelihood. Like it was something that was truly a part of me. And then I was like, okay, let's just say from 6 all the way to like 16. I was like, well, I see so many people with Tai Chi not really testing it. Like they're doing it against each other, but I didn't at that point see many people trying it with a wrestler or trying it with an MMA fighter or whatever. And so I started to really question my own art. And when you question what you're doing, that's when you define your growth.
Yeah.
And if you just truthfully believe what you're doing is it, then you've limited yourself. And so my dad signed me up for a push hands tournament when I was a kid. I was so scared, Jerry. You would have never known this, but this is insider stuff, but I was so scared at that time. I had no clue what to do. He signed me up. He said, "Okay, you're going to try this." And I had not really done much push hands, at that point when I was younger. Dude, went in and I did phenomenal. Like, surprised myself. And then after that, he was like, "Okay, why don't you try more? Why don't you get out there and try more?" And that's the thing I love about my father, Jerry, is that he literally was the person that pushed me to try different things. He wasn't like, "Okay, we're going to do it this way and it has to be this way." He's like, "Now that you have a good foundation, take your martial arts and go and try it and come back to your roots always." And I think that's where I want to take Tai Chi. And I have this, when I was younger, I had this burning sensation, Jerry, to prove myself. I wanted to face all these Tai Chi masters. I want to go around and push them over and spar them because I felt that people were a lot of talk and they were a lot of show this, show that. Here's this demonstration, and this is how it works on a compliant person. And I did not vibe with that. And so I would go around and try to push with people, try to work with people. And it was very closed doors. I mean, not many people answered me back,
Wow.
And so in younger age, I actually reached out to Adam Meisner. And he sent me a message, which I'm glad I screenshot, but he sent me a message saying, "Hey, there's no need for you to come here. You've got the goods." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So it was just like, I always wanted to push myself as a younger guy in Tai Chi and evolve the art because I felt like the art had been numbed.
Yeah.
And then you see this Tai Chi versus MMA and the dude gets obliterated.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, wow, what can we do to really show and prove that this art is worth it? And you know what that is, Jerry? It is testing your art, but learning other arts so that you can apply the foundational stuff that you have to other arts. Or else you're just trying to bull, right?
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
going like this. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But you, Jerry, know how to box, and I don't know how to box, and I'm trying to fight you with Tai Chi. You're going to just jab me in the nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
As fast and as hard as possible. And what's going to happen? I'm going to have a bloody nose. I'm going to look like crap, and I'm not going to know how to move.
Yeah.
But I learn a little bit of boxing, then I move my head, I slip, I roll, and I can still utilize some of my Tai Chi in that movement. So it's just about adapting
Yeah.
the art and moving forward with it.
Totally. Let's talk a little bit about your dad. How did he get into martial arts? Because, he was the biggest inspiration in your life. So tell me about that.
Heck yeah, man. So my father, it was funny because Tai Chi was not taught to Americans back when he started. It was like almost forbidden to some degree. And he found this old Chinese guy at the park that was practicing. His name was Abraham Liu, and he he would not take my father as a student. So my father would sit back a ways and just like kind of mimic what he's doing, like try to mock the moves from afar. And then one day the guy said, "Okay, come on," and he took him on as a student. And ever since that point, this was in San Diego, California. And ever since that point, he started learning from him. And then we moved to the Midwest, and we found Yang Jun, which is the sixth generation holder of the Yang style family. So all the way from Yang Luchan, Yang Chengfu, all the whole line. And that really excelled our Tai Chi. And I think my father took a liking to it because prior to Tai Chi, he was in the Navy. And he fought in Vietnam.
Wow.
Right. And so he had seen some real combat, some real things. And so I think getting out of that, he wanted to really find a way to mellow it out and really come to peace with himself. Wow. So my father's a badass, and he's really cool. Of course, he's my father. I'm biased. I'm not even going to say I'm unbiased, but he's one of those guys where he's got a great composure. My entire life, I've never seen him mad and upset. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of wild. But he's just a very focused, loving individual, and he's always given that to me, as a father.
So when you guys were training Tai Chi when you were young, did your father also couple that with, let's say, some of the drills he learned in the Army?
Yeah, you know what? That's funny that you say that because there were several times, and I guess I could say this now, where he had really put a lot of pressure on me, and 2 or 3 times had knocked me out in training. Yeah. Yeah. and as a kid, you love that because it's your father. It was not abusive or anything. It was more like, this is real life, son, and these are real strikes. And if you don't move, you get hurt and you get hit. And and guess what? After those 2 or 3 times, I never got knocked out because I learned from that pressure and those combatives that he learns from the military, applied with his Tai Chi, and it just made sense in our sparring and our hard workouts.
Wow. Okay, so it's like it wasn't just like push hand spar your dad. You would sometimes spar your dad. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. And Jerry, let me tell you what, I can honestly say I am probably the worst person to learn, and I'll say this confidently, I'm the worst person to learn traditional Tai Chi from if you're looking for traditional Tai Chi. But in the same sense, I'm the best person to learn from because I don't have any other view of it besides pressure, deep understanding, focus, traditional training. So what I mean by that, let me break that up, is I can't take you to the fluff where we're just doing this for, like, I can't take you there because it always has to be coupled with martial intent. Even if you're an 85-year-old lady that's trying to learn it, I still have to show you some of the martial intent. I know that an 85-year-old lady may not be sufficient at fighting, but her not understanding that physical intent doesn't give much benefit to the moves. So I stick to my guns in that sense when it comes to training because I've known nothing else besides test your art or else your art will be tested.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is the good point to talk about. When did it get to the point where you basically were impossible to beat at push hands? Was there an age or was it like pretty quick?
Yeah. After my first tournament, that was my very, very first tournament when I was like 16. And I had realized, wow, previously we had not practiced push hands very often. We just practiced more combative things and form. I would sit there and post for hours. And for people that don't know what posting is, It's literally just standing in a horse stance where you're low. So imagine like a deep squat, but your tailbone is tucked underneath you, and you're holding like a tree or a ball. You're imagining you're holding a tree or a ball. So I would stand in those stances during entire classes while he's teaching other students. You know, it's just like it was such a rich experience for me, and I have all the gratitude for my father putting me in the push hands, because I wouldn't have known that I was so great at push hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until after that. And so after that, then he's like, let's go for more. Jerry, let me tell you, I went through so many circuits, hundreds of people,
Wow.
pushing hands, and I have never been defeated on push hand circuits,
Wow.
which was wild to me. I was like, there's no way in human life that I am one of the best at what I do. I just don't believe that. I won't believe it. And so I started reaching out to people and pushing with them. And I just wasn't able to get pushed and beaten. And so from that, I was like, all right, there's got to be someone out there. And I don't know if anyone knows this, and I've probably said this a couple times, but there's only one person to have ever beaten me unofficially. And his name is Vladimir Sidorov.
Oh.
Yeah. Put that name down.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vladimir Sidorov. And Vladimir Sidorov was one person that gave me such a challenge, because he pushed not traditional. He pushed because he would fight with his push hands, and that's how he trained with it. So whenever I touched hands with him, I was like, whoa, I could feel a difference immediately. I'm like, this ain't no BS. This is some real stuff. And him and I went back and forth, and I felt so defeated after that.
Wow.
It was such a big learning curve. But since then, and I was still pretty young, Since then, I have just focused on push hands being a gateway into grappling, jiu-jitsu, other martial arts. And so I just honestly think that my push hands being undefeated, as you say, is only a direct response to me adapting and changing to the opponent every single time, never treating one opponent the exact same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Do you still talk to Sidorov? Like, what is your relationship to him now?
I love Sidorov. He is an amazing person. He
Mm-hmm.
actually wants me to come out to, I think it's Russia or Malaysia, and do some big tournaments.
Wow.
Out there with him. So we might see that in the future for sure.
Oh, that's exciting. So
Yeah.
that's some stuff that we'll look forward to, you know?
I would love to
Wow.
face him officially, because we had an unofficial battle. I'd love to face him officially and see if he can actually beat me now that I would say 10 years older since the last time we faced each other. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, let's talk about, because obviously we're talking about you in your push hands being able to adapt to the opponent, right? There are some things that I definitely noticed that I didn't see any other Tai Chi guy do. One thing is you almost had like a wave motion. It was almost like what the Sistema guys try to show that they can do, but the Sistema guys look very cringe. But like you were able to do that and off balance people. So tell me about that. How did you kind of come up with that, or was that something in Tai Chi that most people just don't understand?
Yeah, so my father taught me this thing called Fa Jin, and we didn't have this like concept of it where it was like the ultimate strike. We actually we had more of a concept of it as a filling and a way to maneuver. And so whenever I'm doing those shaking, those rotations and all that to throw people off, it's more derived to change the energy rather than to attack. So when you're pushing me and I start doing those waves, it's to redirect whatever you planned on doing and to resettle my energy so that I can actually get an attack off or maneuver you how I want to maneuver you.
Yeah.
So those shakes come from the deep waist, come from the dantian, which is just a breathing point that we use. And I guess I've just gotten good at it. That would be the
It's
best.
very enlightening, Sifu, that you mentioned Fajing, right? That's how we say it in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Now, in Mandarin, in my humble opinion, reading what the characters mean, it just means like create the force. It's
Right.
exactly like you said, just from my understanding of Chinese. It doesn't mean ultimate force or ultimate strength or whatever a lot of these Tai Chi guys pretend it means.
Yeah.
It just means I create a force. Fa Jing. That's all
Yeah.
it is. Not ultimate force or I have some magical chi force. No, it's just, and I like how you interpreted. You're just basically treating the force from whichever vector, whichever direction you need to
Right.
redirect it. I love that. Instead of like, you hear people like, yeah, the reason I make him jump 1,000 miles that way is because I did the fudge, and it's like that's not what it means.
No.
You could create another meaning for it, but if I'm translating it directly from Mandarin from Chinese, it just means create force.
Yeah. That, and maybe again, I can go back to my point of like, I am very traditional, but I'm also skeptical. And so whenever you're skeptical, you find growth. And so for my first time, whenever I saw someone get bounced like 10, 15 feet, I was like, there's no way. That's just not possible. And then I realized, oh, they just have a compliant partner that is feeding into it. And there's so many people that will combat what I just said. They're like, well, you're just not feeling it. I'm like, well, if you really think about it, physics and the way the body moves, that's not how it works. And no one's ever been able to do that to me. And I've faced hundreds of push hands people, Tai Chi people, martial artists. I haven't been bounced like that. Even the best person I've pushed with, Vladimir Sidorov, did not bounce me. He did move me, but it was not significant enough to where I'm flying feet away. It just wasn't. I guess I'm breaking down that magic that people get latched onto, which there is a magic, and let me not deter you from that. There is a magic from this art, but it is not. It's not like that visible that you see on these people's pages. So
Yeah, exactly. So let's clarify some of the rules with push hands, right? Your understanding, because obviously the rules of push hands are evolving, and the tournament that we met you at, they were kind of slightly different rules than what you were used to, and that was why it was so effective, showing that you still
right,
adapted to the rules, right?
right,
And there was some rule ambiguity. We'll definitely get to that tournament soon. But
yeah,
so traditionally, I guess for me, what makes moving step push hands not the same as Shuaijiao or a wrestling tournament? Because it seems like moving hands push hands is almost like just Greco-Roman wrestling, right? It's like upper body, you can do whatever.
yeah.
Don't really touch the lower body. Is that how moving hands push hands, or can you double leg and single leg in moving hands push hands?
In a nutshell, you're right, but no, you can't double and single leg. But it is like wrestling in a sense without takedowns. And if you think about it, a lot of the moving push hands that you see is very stiff, very solid, and it's very jittery. It's like they aren't understanding the concept of soft and hard,
Yeah.
and so why not just do grappling or Swai Jiao or Wang Chun? Why not go that route? Because what you're doing is not a proper representation of what you should be doing. And let me clear that up, because what you should be doing is learning. And of course, if you're in a tournament, you want to win or whatever, but you should be adapting and learning how to apply your Tai Chi in a tournament. That is why I think you should go and do moving step, and why I think it's out there. But it's been very skewed. And going back to your point, for sure, moving step is definitely a step forward for people learning. But don't stop there. Go to grappling, go to jiu-jitsu, go further, go to Shuaijiao, go to Sanda. Like, learn.
Oh no. Oh, Sifu Niko did his. Oh, there he is. Oh, your phone, your connection.
Oh, did we have a problem?
Yeah, we had a slight problem. Your connection dropped for a second, so it cut off when you said learn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just saying, take the moving step outside of the idea of oh, this is just a battle. No, try to actually learn and utilize your Tai Chi. Of course, you want to win, but utilize your Tai Chi to learn and adapt throughout that whole experience. But usually you see bulls in there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a great way of describing what not just moving hands, but whether the one step or even the fixed step push hands, what it all ends up just looking like. It just looks like bull. It
Yeah.
looks like bull.
Yep.
And like
Bull
guys,
crap.
I'm not saying bull as in B bull SHIT. I'm saying bull like two bulls going at it. It really looks like it. And the one person that we've seen that doesn't fall into that trap is Sifu Niko, right? Because and I guess this is the perfect time to kind of go into the tournament we met him in.
Yeah.
We had perfect examples, especially the unintended last match after the official last match, where it was a bull against a guy who, found the water, so to speak.
Right.
And it's like, that was the first time I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel like I see at least what I traditionally thought Tai Chi was. So, anyways, let's just talk about this tournament. Again, shout out Jason. Jason's awesome.
Yes.
Let's talk about this tournament because none of us knew that there was going to be platforms this high. Like, did you know about that?
I didn't. No, and that was, again, I didn't like the platforms, but it doesn't matter what I like or dislike because I'm willing to adapt to whatever. And so, and again, maybe that is a mindset that I think more Tai Chi people should take on.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like the platforms just simply because, yeah, they were sliding all over the place. They weren't traditionally what I was used to as far as just on your feet, here we go, push, and so I found that to be a disruptor for my final match, not my other matches. My final match, I would have loved to be feet to the ground. My other matches were more of me just having a good time and enjoying myself, really. But yeah, I like what you said about what Tai Chi should look like, because when I was a kid, and this goes back to that magic, I had that same idea. I'm like, I've never seen what Tai Chi people talk about it should look like in combat or push hands. I've never seen it. So why not be it? Why not embody the magic that people want to see? And can I do that? Well, can I? And so I did my first viral push hands video in Orlando, Florida, where this guy was pushing me. And I mean, there's hundreds of comments saying, dude, you look like he's pushing water or something like that, or he's pushing a brick house and he can't move it. Because I was just moving my body in response to any energy he was giving me. And I was doing some crazy stuff. I don't do now. But it looked more like what you would see in a movie where it's fluent and it's relaxed, and then the attack comes out of nowhere and it almost looks fake,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When before I officially met you, I saw some of those, right? Because I was curious about what we would see, and
Right.
I was watching some of your tournaments, and I could just tell, you move differently than any Tai Chi person I've met here on the West Coast. I was
Right.
like, I would look forward to seeing you, and then exactly like you said, during the tournament that we did in the Orange County area, I remember the whole time between takes, so to speak, between competitors, you were
Right.
dancing. I told people in my commentary, but like literally, this is what Nico was doing the whole right in between. He was just chilling. In fact, what was funny was I had to tell you, hey Nico, don't get into my camera because you were dancing, which is cool, but like I was so worried about getting everything on camera that I was like, Nico, no, don't dance. But the truth is, I should have captured more of that dancing because like that was one of your secrets. It's like
Right.
keep loose, have fun.
Exactly. And so I'm glad Jerry, I'm actually glad you pointed that out, because there is something that happens when you tell someone to when you put someone in a more serious environment or a battle or something like that. There's something that happens to the psyche, and it overcomes your abilities. And so my idea is to simply negate those and relax and have a good time. So I dance and I'll bob around. I'll do weird movements. for multiple reasons. One, for myself, you know, because it's such a relaxing place to be, just to be away from the norm and enjoy your movement, enjoy yourself. But two, because it keeps my body loose. You know, it keeps my mind not so attack, and I'm not so what's that called? over serious about it. It's like I'm here to learn. Yes, it's a competition, but I'm here to learn. You know, too. And so that's why in the final battle, if you want to call it that, you saw me really dancing, and then I actually at one point got a little bit frustrated.
Oh yeah.
You know, and to me, I was like, this is great. This is wonderful that I am actually getting frustrated a little bit because it's something challenging outside of my character. And that is a learning point for me to come back and just to fall back into my adapting. A couple reasons is, one, I felt like my opponent wasn't being as fair as they could have.
Yeah.
You know, again, no problem to him. That's how he pushes. But two, I felt like there was a lot of things like grabbing my shirt and things like that were going on. And so I just got frustrated, but I loved that. I loved that someone was able to take me to that point because I'm like, oh, there it is. I got to learn from that. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to link that clip right now to everyone who's watching so you guys can kind of follow along. Yeah, I love what you said because it was a comeback, right? Because you weren't familiar with his energy and the fact that, let's be honest, he knew the rules better than you, so he exploited them. That's just the truth. Especially as I rewatched my coverage over and over, I was like, dude, he's totally exploiting the rules, right? And, you know, I wouldn't say you can fault him, but, you know, obviously there's something to be said about that, but then there's, you know, we're not going to go there. But the point is, he frustrated you. You could tell. And the brilliance of it is that you came back. Like, initially, he was winning. And then once you came back, you just, you know, you went over the mountain, man. And just even seeing that was so inspiring because here you have one guy, and I talked about this in my coverage, but I'll just, since we're on camera, I can explain it more. This guy that Nico was going up against, he had his fingers taped. He wore a rash guard. So he changed his costume. He wore a mouth guard. Like, this guy was almost like, are we doing an MMA fight? Are we doing a combat jiu-jitsu fight? Or are we doing Tai Chi? I thought Tai Chi was supposed to be more friendly and chill. Wasn't that the point of this competition, was to have fun? You know, and every time, even when he stalemated with Nico, right? The rules were if both of you went off the platform at the same time, it didn't count, even if one person pulled the other person off first, right? It wasn't about whose feet landed first. If both of you ended up on the ground together, doesn't matter. It was stalemate. So even when he was winning, but he stalemated a few times with Nico, he would walk around the entire mat, hit himself in the face. And I was like, what are we watching? How did it go from like a chill, fun Tai Chi tournament that also, by the way, was coupled with the BJJ tournament? So all the jiu-jitsu guys had to watch all this, for lack of a better word, tantrum. You know, all the jiu-jitsu guys were watching this guy do this too. So, you know, there was a lot of awkward energy, if you're going to have to use West Coast terms, you know, like I live in LA, right? Awkward vibes.
Yeah,
But Nico came back from that, and that's why when I featured that, that competition, I was like, this is so inspiring, and why I had to be like, okay, yeah, Nico and I, we're gonna be martial arts buddies, and buddies beyond that, but we're gonna be martial arts buddies for life, man. I saw something in you that was really inspiring that day.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to really like tag along on that point is, again, that sort of understanding and learning came from me applying Tai Chi to my life. Oh man, I'm getting upset. How do I resolve this? Rather than living in that nature of being pissed off or mad, I'm always doing a constant review because of the Tai Chi. When you do your forms, you have to do them correct to feel the nature of it. So if you take that and apply it to your life, you're going to review and constantly adapt deeper into yourself and your root. So if you can apply that to your form, to your fighting, to your blah blah blah, and then fight and then apply it to your life and you know your emotions and your interactions, your relationships. Then you truly become in harmony with the art rather than a one-sided piece. You have all sides connecting, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point on how I came back because I really enjoyed that. I enjoy, and that's again coming back to Survivor. Why I enjoyed struggling and starving. No one wants to starve. I lost 30 pounds in
Wow.
16 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and so no one wants to do that willingly, right? And so it's like the David Goggins thing, you know, where you're just like, hey, I'm just doing this, and it's just we're gonna see what happens. You know, my body might be broken, but I'm not stopping because I'm tired. I'm stopping because I'm done. You know, that's kind of like that David Goggins mentality, but coupled with that Tai Chi mentality too, where you can kind of understand the healing aspect of this and the reflection aspect of this, but go get frustrated, go try, go get mad and see, you know, how you can come back from that. Of course, naturally, right? Don't just get mad because you want, but like response to something, and then catch yourself and adapt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a yin to a yang, right?
Yeah.
That's the key. And I think it's like exactly like you said, something was this much forced to cause you to see the other side. It's like, oh, I can meet it like a bull, but actually if I meet it the other way, I'm actually going to be more effective. And like we
100%.
saw that growth in you during
Right.
that tournament.
Right.
And it's funny because I think about, though, I'm not going to name names. There was another guy in that tournament who was mouthing off the whole time, even when the jiu-jitsu guys were competing. He was trying to give the jiu-jitsu.
Are you talking about the guy in your video where you're like, I'm not going to name him?
Yeah, I'm talking about the guy in the video who's like, I'm not going to name him. That guy with the really colorful pants was mouthing off the whole time. And, like, he was also, in a very funny way, very kind of much like a bull, right? I don't know if I showed you the footage, but one of the guys he competed against, he sort of concussed him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They went together because the guy also didn't understand the circular nature of some of this stuff. So they went directly down together, and the guy smacked his head a little bit. And I told Jason, I was like, dude, let's make sure this never happens again, man.
Yeah.
But the point is, that guy could have been another example of a guy that got you to bull back, right? But I remember when you faced him, you beat him in like 2 minutes, man. You're like, I'm not taking any of your negative, weird energy. I'm just gonna make you fall. And you beat him so quick, like he thought he was the man, right? Because he had a similar weight distribution to you. So, you know, like body type wise, if he understood Tai Chi more, he could have been good. But you know, his Tai Chi was very much like his personality, just mouthing off, just like, you know, catching little quips. I've been taking acting classes, and I've been learning that a lot of those guys who do that, it's a mask, right? It's a mask for a lot of insecurities on the inside. That's what they're always mouthing off, coming up with little quips. But the point is, it didn't work on you. In fact, you had so much fun with him. You beat him in like record time, whereas he thought he had the advantage on everyone. Like that was even if we didn't have that final match where you overcame, like when you beat that guy so quickly, I was like, that even demonstrates Nico's abilities.
Yeah, and that it's a good point because a lot of people will say weight has a lot to do with it, you know. And I out of respect to him, I believe he's probably 40 pounds heavier, 20 to 40 pounds heavier than I am.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to utilize the weight distribution. And it doesn't matter if you just fall on me or whatever or bull through me. Because if you review that tape, he just fell and I just threw him and I just guided him down to the ground everywhere he wanted to go. And there was even several times where I pushed him in his direction and pushed him over. And it's because simply he was leaning on me, laying on me, and he honestly wasn't doing much of the stuff that he was telling other people to do, which is another thing I think that people, if you're going to give out information, make sure you are a walking testament to what you say and do, because you really want to represent yourself well in that regard. And if you aren't, take your time to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. So, for those of you who weren't there at the tournament, you could probably get from this that unfortunately, besides Nico, there was a lot of, like, Nico was awesome, but besides Nico, there was a lot of other cringe at that tournament. But the fact that I still got to meet Nico, it made the tournament worth it, despite, like, my memory of that tournament, like I didn't know what to expect. Right? It was a lot of cringe. And all credit goes to Jason. He really tried, man. So it's not Jason's fault. It just, unfortunately, the Tai Chi community is a little bit like this. And that's why I wanted to, we'll keep collaborating with Nico, because
Yeah.
Nico is a breath of fresh air.
What's funny is recently, I wanted to take a step far back from the Tai Chi community as far as performing and doing push hands in any tournaments. In the simple fact and regard that I want to take my art somewhere else and my skills somewhere else. I feel like I've exhausted it a lot in that field. Doesn't mean I won't push with someone or I won't do freestyle with someone or whatever. It more means that I want to take this to a different place. And so for any viewers that may not know what I do or anything, I also do jiu-jitsu, and I've studied with jiu-jitsu artists and teach kickboxing and all that, because I believe that this art is truly universal. So yes, I do want to take it there one day. Yes, one day you might see Sifu in a ring or in a match, but no, I do not heavily desire that. Meaning, I want to fight to prove myself. It's more of, I enjoy the art and I want to take it as far as I can go, but I want to test myself. But I know so many people would love to see me in a ring, even if it's just a boxing or kickboxing or whatever. I do think that is in my future, and I do think people would also see a benefit to how Tai Chi translates in the ring. Mm-hmm. Not to say, Wei Ling is a UFC fighter, and she is very high up, and she does practice Tai Chi, so it is out there, and she's a very high ranking. I can't remember how high ranked she is, but she's ranked up there in the UFC, and there are clips of her practicing Tai Chi on her Instagram and applying it into the ring. So I'm not saying that I would be bringing it for the first time. I'm just saying if I was to bring Tai Chi into the ring, it would definitely have a different look, just like my push hands.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is so exciting to hear that that's something we can look forward to in the future. Yeah. Because obviously, that's what I always tell my viewers. If someone, especially these internal styles, and this is something Sifu's repeated to me many times, so I'm just, I'm not the first one to say this, but like, if you do an internal style, you're going to see it manifest in whatever style you do, right? So you might not see like a move that's like, oh, that is Tai Chi, but then you're also like, no, like everything is Tai Chi, right? If you get this vibe with someone that's implementing Tai Chi in whatever situation, then that's probably they're doing Tai Chi. If you're like, that could be Tai Chi, I think it's all Tai Chi, then they're probably doing Tai Chi, right? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, Tai Chi is one of those arts that's not cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like MMA, cut and dry. Stand up, takedown, ground. I mean, you have more in there, but that's what it is. I either punch Jerry in the face and Jerry gets knocked out and hurt, or Jerry does the same, or we draw. I mean, it's very cut and dry and simple. There's more to it. Of course, we could elaborate. But when you go to Tai Chi, it's very aloof. And so I think that my idea in the future is to really create standardized understanding of like what we're here to do for push hands, what we're here to do for fixed step, what we're here to do for restricted step and moving step, and really create an environment that allows people to see, oh, Jerry's better than Sifu. Oh, this person's the reigning champion. Like, because there's really I can't go around to people saying, I am the undefeated push hands champion of the world. Like, what? What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything, And so in the future, I would love to, really create my own tournament or even work with World Series of push hands. I would be open to that if I was able to really, utilize the resources and helpfulness. But I would love to create a definitive style of rules and ranking and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that would be cool.
And I think what's really interesting, you just gave me this idea, which is there has to be a way to measure, like having having that like yang energy, right? That really, really bullish type of
Right.
energy is important, right? There's a time and a place for that, but you got to be able to measure the other side, like the energy that Nico has so
Right.
well. So again, I don't have the answer to this, but hypothetical. Let's say these two people are up against each other in a push hands, and let's say in this in this exchange, one
Sure.
person's going very bull, and the other person, through different body movements and stuff, kind of negates it and doesn't use force back and off balances him.
Right.
Right? So, does that potentially yield more points than if he just bulls him back? And like, those are things we can think about. How do you, because that's what I imagine when you're saying, like, okay, how do I quantify some of this other stuff of Tai Chi that usually doesn't get shown in these tournaments? Like, you can add incentive for people to do some of that stuff. It's like, let's say that's 3 points instead of just 1 point or 2 points, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That would be an incentivization that would actually potentially bring out better Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, if people just, spaz on each other and push each other down, okay, that's like the regular 1 point. But if you see something that's different, a redirection of energy, which is a lot of what people think of as Tai Chi, right? Then maybe a redirection of energy could be 2 points or something like that. Yeah, like these are things that we could, again, like just totally, it just came from my head. So I'm just laying it out there. We'll definitely talk about this more, probably with Jason too. But like, yeah, at the end of the day, how do you change a practice if you don't incentivize that, right? And it's like one of the best ways is through points or through money.
And I think that Jason has a great idea there, because money is very helpful for that person that doesn't want to try, doesn't, I don't want to do tournaments. But if you say, hey, here's $5,000, and someone might go, well, I'm there, and so his tournament style, I believe in. I like the way he is producing that content. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I just texted Jason. I just saw that we're talking. We're shouting him out.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, excellent, man. I love the fact that we can have an open dialogue about this. I am not high and mighty. I am not the best in the world, but I definitely have challenged myself to the point where I want to face more people that are in the hierarchy of push hands, of Tai Chi. Not to stroke an ego or anything, but just to truly experience more.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is a very tough place to do, or to be, because there's not many people in a higher level of Tai Chi that want any sort of a challenge or want any sort of a combative nature with someone, because it might tarnish their business or their view or something like that. So I'm not worried about that. Someone better comes to me, please come here and please challenge me and please push me over and please show me something, because I'm eager and ready to learn always. I'm a student.
And again, this is what I always tell people, like, at the end of the day, it's with any martial art. It's just martial arts, I get it. People tie their identities to this thing, and it's important to have things you really care about, but at the end of the day, like, you have to realize it's just that, so like I always tell people, it's just push hands, it's just chess. Like, I study chess, right? And I was watching that movie Searching for Bobby Fischer, and I couldn't watch it because, like, I was like, dude, it's like I'm watching Tai Chi again, but it's like people got too intense over chess. It's just chess, people. Like, if you don't tie your ego too much to these things, you'll learn better.
Yes, I agree, and that is a great a lesson when you're learning Tai Chi. So if there's ever anyone watching, or if there's anyone watching this that would want to learn Tai Chi ever, the best way to do it is dive head first and learn from a certified teacher. Just someone who knows the style, someone who's practiced for many years, and someone who shows good combat, good connection. And then if you want to take it further, like a martial art, or you want to spar with it, or you want to do self-defense, then actually test yourself with other arts. So someone that doesn't give a crap about you, and they don't care what you do, and they're just sparring you with zero compliance. That is the only way that you will achieve greatness with your art in a combative form. If you're doing Tai Chi for health and wellness, oh my gosh, 100% points to you. It's good to stretch, it's good to breathe, and I think it's great for the body.
Yeah.
So in the mind, and so but just be clear about that. What that is. Like, hey, I'm just here for a good stretch, a good workout, burn some calories, etc. Be clear about that.
Yeah.
When you're searching for a teacher and when you're searching for more.
Yeah, exactly. So the question, and this could be something we plan together. I think Taiwan would be a great place for you to go and just meet some people and
I,
potentially test out some of your stuff because. And I've been wanting to go to Taiwan for a long time, so maybe you and I will do the trip together. We'll go to Taiwan together, because I
Gary,
cover the Taiwanese martial arts circuit so much, and let's get you over and let's
I
do
would
some
love that.
videos.
I have my passport, from going to Fiji, and I would love that. I think
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think
You know,
that's a great trip for us to take. And then, like for example, Chilala, the Wing Chun guy I always feature. Let's see how he would do in a push hands against you, right? It'd be cool
yeah,
because he's doing some of this stuff too with his. So like, there'd be there's that Tai Chi guy that I always feature, who
yeah.
like takes part in MMA tournaments, and like I would love to see you and him push. Like, there's a lot of potential for Taiwan.
Yeah, there is, and again, for anyone that sees this or watches this, I would love to have some sort of challenge like that. I
Hmm.
I am not high and mighty. I am not the best. I am just seeking to learn, much like Goku. From Dragon Ball Z. I just constantly want to get stronger at my art, and I constantly want to get better at what I'm doing. A little bit about Goku. He learned from Master Roshi, and I'm giving you guys a lesson on Dragon Ball Z. Learned a little bit from Master Roshi, but then after that, he went to go find other teachers. You know what I mean? King Kai was one of his teachers. A lot of these other people helped him excel, and I watched Dragon Ball Z when I was growing up, and I related it to that as well. And this is the reason why I'm not so stagnant and so still with my art, is because I am trying to learn more and be stronger for myself, my art, my students, and more than that. So
Yeah, exactly. It's great. If people wanted to see your stuff, I mean, obviously you have a YouTube channel. Do you have any courses, by the way?
I used to, and I still have. I have one course where I would teach someone one on one how to do the form and start the basics with push hands. Without a partner, you don't need a partner. So they could just hit me up on any of my social medias. You just look up Sifu or Sifu Niko on Instagram, on
Hmm.
Facebook, and you'll find me and reach out. And I would love to be able to help you reach your goals with Tai Chi, with martial arts, etc. But I've dialed back quite a bit because I have a goal to teach more authentic students. Meaning, I don't want to try this for a month. I don't want to try this for 2 months. I'm in it for the long haul. And so, if you do that as a teacher, you definitely lose the mass of people. But you do gain those one golden nuggets or those one or two diamonds in the rough that are ready to learn. So, that is my method of getting on students now is more of, if you want to learn with me, we're going to go for a while. We're going to work for at least a year and commit to that. So
Yeah, I love the quality versus quantity type of thing that, everyone should have this debate and think about what you want, right? For example, like if your dad decided to mass teach Tai Chi, then he wouldn't have created a Nico, right?
at all,
It's obvious, right?
period.
Yeah, and
I think
you
the
can
most
see it
scary,
happen to even other martial arts. Think about Taekwondo or karate, or even Jiu-Jitsu now. It's becoming so mass taught that it's losing a lot of its edge.
yeah. I think the most students my father has ever had in one room in my entire life was 12, which does I mean that's not a lot, and that's like throughout a span of a few months.
Yeah.
But the core people that have always trained with us for years and years and years and years is five.
Wow.
you know and so those people I still know today. Some God rest their soul, but have passed. But um it's just like, wow, that is impressive that people for 15 plus years have stuck with my father and learn with him. So it's just like that's what I'd rather do that.
I see. And actually, this is a good final question: is does your father have any clips online, or do you have any clips of your father on YouTube or Instagram or anything?
Not too many. I
Okay.
have a few clips that are on my Instagram and a few clips that are on my YouTube, but he doesn't. We didn't really focus on filming. We
Hmm.
focused on a lot of just groundwork, And so now that we're older, I have a video of him and I doing push hands. It's so funny because in the video, it was a good video. In the video, I literally used my head to push him over.
Oh, that's funny.
We both just laughed at that. I don't know. Let me look on my YouTube.
Oh, I see. My teacher and father. I see that.
Is it on there?
Leroy Alsup.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, I've never seen this one before. I'm gonna have to watch that later. Yeah, there's one. It's
Yeah.
like a 3.4, 3 minutes and 40-second clip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Push Sifu Leroy Alsup, my teacher and father. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna enjoy that. Oh, I see a
Yeah.
few of them. There's like another one of you guys. Oh,
Yes.
back when you had very different hair too.
You see that?
Tai Chi Dam. There's one from Tai Chi Dam.
Yep. So
Oh
that
wow.
is a long time ago in the back yeah, I see that where we're doing a two-person form. It's just
Yeah.
two-person dasha.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Tai Chi Dam was an old channel, or Tai Chi Me Dam?
No, it's Tai Chi mid am, like mid America.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that was your old channel.
It's not that's an old channel.
Wow.
That video is from 12 years ago or something like that. But
Wow.
yeah, I am just grateful to have had a chance to be where I'm at with this art and challenge other people, challenge myself, and I hope that other people can find my stuff, look into it, and hopefully it inspires more people to be authentic and dig into their training and challenge it, be skeptical always, and learn more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm just, as you're talking about, I'm looking at you and your father kind of practicing the advanced push hands.
Yeah.
I guess this is a final question since we're watching. The clarification, right? You guys are doing the circle thing.
Yeah.
And then when do you guys decide to add the two hands? Because that was the one thing that always confused me about push hands, is that it seemed like one hand, and then suddenly one person adds two hands. So what's the rule on that? If I could get that clarification, I've already learned so much more about the rules.
Yeah, so in push hands, we first learn single hand, which is what you is what you don't often see is just single hand pushing with no second hand.
Hmm.
Meaning even you're fighting like that. You're trying to push someone over without that second hand. You won't really see that, and that's something my father has taught me is just a single hand where it's like the double in tournaments where you're trying to push each other over and balance. Then you have double hand, right? And then you have four corners, which is just it's like ward off, roll back, press, push, and you practice those in a sequence. And then you have moving step with single, and you kind of build on the ladder there. But a lot of people don't practice it that way, and I think it's only because I learned that from my father, so I just didn't see it practiced that way often. So I don't know if that was common or not, but that's the way we learn. We start single, double, four corners, and then we go back, and then you add freestyle. So even then, you're not doing freestyle. Let me clear that up. So when you do single, you're only circling. You're not even trying to test your balance. You're just circling so you can get the relaxation in the arms and the breath and the balance. And then after you learn all those, then you go back to freestyling with that. Yeah.
I see. So
Maybe that's why. I've developed some good skill because it was really detailed.
yeah, I mean, when I was just seeing you and your dad do it, you guys stayed on this for a very long time. And then I
Right.
guess there was a point where I don't know, I haven't watched it with the volume yet, where he
Sure.
probably told you, okay, let's add the second hand.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that seems, just from what you're telling me, that seems to be the logical way to do it. Because how I've seen so many people do push hands is they're going circle, and then one person just adds the second hand, and it's like,
Right.
well, who agreed to just add the second hand? Like, it almost seems like, okay, let's try to sneak the second hand in, you know?
There's been many times in my tournament era where I've just used one hand and the other hand was just a dummy hand because I've practiced so many times with just one hand that it's almost as good as me using two. And so I think that's where people need to go reinvest is one side and then practice the other side. And so that becomes good. Now, when you put them together, it's like a superset.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said. And I was rewatching, and I'll send you the full clip of this. I don't think I ever showed you the full clip of this, but my first time being exposed to push hands before I met you, it was this one guy. I'm not gonna name his name, but he was a really big dude, but he had trouble with a wrestler who was just maybe slightly bigger than me. And when I rewatched the clip, I noticed the wrestler actually followed the guy's own rules, which is the wrestler only used one hand. So once I realized that watching it recently, like, that makes it extra cringe. The guy was trying to cheat his own rules, trying to use his, like, 250 pounds to bully the wrestler. The wrestler used one hand and was frustrating the guy. I was like, now, that's an extra layer of cringe once I noticed that, because all I could notice for the first 2 years after I filmed the footage was how frustrated everyone looked and how, but then once I realized, oh, wow, the wrestler the whole time was just using one hand, I'm like, oh, that's extra cringe, and that's what Nico and I want to bring Tai Chi out of.
Yes, I agree. And another deal is like accepting the fact that external martial arts will always get there faster than we will. When you walk into an external, MMA or boxing, you're punching the first day, if not footwork.
Yeah.
You're working a bag, but in Tai Chi, it takes a while to be freely striking and be moving like that. So when you face someone like a wrestler, they know how to take you down in seconds. Even on my channel, I think it's like a 1 minute video, and at the end of the video, I'm working with the wrestler, and he takes me down, and I'm just purely just trying to stop the takedowns. I'm not, because I am proficient in grappling, so grappling would be fine in jiu-jitsu. But my goal was just to purely stop him from taking me down. And in 1 minute, he was able to still achieve that, which is not much time. So if you think about it, if you really look at that video and you think about it, it is because he spent, and we're just saying this, a lifetime of external wrestling, and I have not. So, that adaptation adds so much more challenge.
Yeah.
And I realize that, and I wish more people would realize that. It's like, I'm not just going to not get taken down by a wrestler. It's almost inevitable. But, what I can do is learn and adapt and apply, and then things will come from there. So
Exactly. And the video that Sifu Niko was talking about, I just put it in the chat, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. It, hey, this has been a good talk, brother.
Yeah, this has been great. To everyone watching, thank you guys so much for watching. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them. But I think this is a really good stopping point. And Sifu Niko, let's definitely get you back soon. And we talk on the phone and we talk via text, so we'll keep in touch via there. And then I think we'll definitely, once I figure out what I want to achieve this year.
Okay.
Let's definitely plan a Taiwan trip. It'd be so cool. You and I go to Taiwan together, and
we
meet up with Silala. We meet up with all the people that I've been in touch with. It'd be so cool. Like the judoka guy who I featured, that guy would be so cool for you guys to just like test each other's balance and stuff. Because he won most of his early MMA fights because he was so good at judo. Nobody could throw him the same way he could throw them, right? So like he has a different sense about body structure and balance. And you could even use the word the Tai Chi or Fa Jing. He has a different Fa Jing than probably a traditional Tai Chi guy, but you guys can definitely like add to each other. So like that would be an amazing collab. His name is Yokai Wen. Sifu Niko and Yokai Wen together.
Hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, Jerry, thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Everyone watching, feel free to come back to this later. Leave your questions in the comments. So we'll be back soon, and we'll answer some of your questions next time.
Love it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cool. So I just ended